I remember being a young kid in the late 50s, and this was around the time of rock and roll, of course, and you couldn't be walking down the street without seeing some greaser trying to get it on with someone else and steal someone's girlfriend. But the heroes to me were guys like, do you know Frank Sinatra, of course, Bobby Darin? And I remember distinctly there was a period where Bobby Darin converted, if you will, to rock and roll. You know, he sold out, he sold himself out big time. And he made this song called Splish Splash. I was taking a bath, and it just had no impact on me whatsoever. The only thing it did do for me was just make me think about using my crooning talents and selling out myself. So that's sort of why I got into rock and roll. I mean, I thought about it and I thought, hey, there could be some big money in this. And that was probably, that would have been about the early 60s. So I formed a band called Gary and the Lovemakers, and we had a single, Baby Let Me Make Your Baby. Didn't go down well with the feminist groups. And of course the record, the A&R guy at the time, you know, they wouldn't offer you a contract basically if you didn't have a song with the word baby in the title. And also, he wanted to make the 7-inch a double A side, which, you know, you say that to kids these days, it sounds like a Duracell battery, but a double A side is basically where you have two songs selling as the single. I didn't know that back then. I was very ignorant towards the music scene, and so when he wanted to use Baby Let Me Make Your Baby, and of course the B-side, which was That's My Baby, that became the other A-side. So I thought, what the hell's going on here? I'm going to go into the studio and make another B-side. So I went into the studio and I cut another track, which I called Baby, Baby, Baby. And either that was the B-side, or the triple A side, or the D side of the EP, I have no idea. I think that was the most confusing thing about that single, and needless to say, it didn't chart. It was around that time that I decided, I actually met the wonderful voice of Tom Jones. I didn't just meet his voice, but I met the man himself as well. And it was actually a funny experience. I remember coming backstage, being invited backstage to meet him, and I walked through the door, and all these lace knickers, you know, panties had just been thrown at me. All these panties just coming down on me like a, you know, like a crooner's victory march. It was something else. And I thought, yeah, this is what I want to do. And yeah, I sort of broke into the cabaret circuit, Las Vegas. The Sands. The Sands was a very big venue at the time. I don't think it exists anymore. No, it doesn't. But at the time, you know, you had Frank, Sammy Davis Jr., all the top crooners of the period, all those legendary performers were performing at the Sands. And it was all glitz and glamour. It was fantastic. Fantastic time in the late 60s. But I never fell out of touch with rock music or some of the more salubrious pursuits. Let's just say Timothy Leary was a friend of mine for a while. He introduced me to LSD. And look, I've had some pretty ordinary experiences, should I say, but you know, I got over it pretty quickly. You know, the best thing to do in that situation is just to stay in bed all day under the covers and pretend that the dragon and the goblins outside your bedroom window are not actually there. So that's what I did. But this alien that was actually in my room tried to tell me otherwise, so it was difficult, very difficult. This alien was trying to convince me that there was a hollow earth. There was actually an earth inside the earth, and I thought that was I thought either I was going mad, maybe I just needed to eat my greens as opposed to inhaling them. But anyway, yeah, we get to the early 70s, and the crooning thing is pretty big. I mean, there was a period where I think it was me. You had Engelbert Humperdinck, who just released Me, which was a great marketing ploy. Release me. You had Trini Engelbert. You had Julio Iglesias, the fantastic Julio Iglesias, whose son is doing some great things at the moment, mainly to the female population. But never mind. Let's chip off the old block, as we say. And then, of course, who else was there? There was, and I thought at the time, I had this great, fantastic idea. I said, you get all of us. You get me, Julio, Engelbert, Trini. Get us all in a room. You have a fantastic new Rat Pack right there. But it never came to be. But, the idea was there. To be honest, at the time, I was more interested in working with exciting new talents. People like Neil Diamond and Roger DeVaris, who of course went on to great things with the hairdryer in the late 70s. And of course, at that time also, there was another countercultural style cropping up called disco. And I have to admit, I got into it. I was interested in disco. It had a great rhythmic pulse about it. It's very primal. It offered you a new way of meeting women, as opposed to just trying to be a gentleman. You didn't even have to say anything anymore. Just go into a nightclub and shout in someone's ear and you're off. But, that had its pitfalls, of course. Particularly at the time, it was in the papers that I'd actually had an affair with Agnetha from ABBA, who of course was married to Benny, and it just got ugly. I distinctly remember, DJing in Europe, in Stockholm, and I was at the Heated Swede, of course, and I'm just there DJing, all the latest stuff, Boney M, KC and the Sunshine Band. That's the way I like it. And I went outside to grab a cigarette. I don't know why I needed to go outside to do that, but logic wasn't a big thing for me at the best of times. And I came back inside, and when I came back inside, my whole deck, turntables, everything was just trashed. Completely and utterly trashed. You would not believe it. And I look out over the floor, and there's Benny just standing there, giving me the look of death. He's wearing this chic fawn brown suit, and he's just looking at me like, that'll teach you for messing with my wife. So needless to say, that was the last time I ever interfered in marital affairs, on the record.